The day started wrong. John Hale could feel it in his bones when he woke up 7 minutes late, burned his toast, and spilled coffee on his white dress shirt before 8 a.m. He changed fast, grabbed a new shirt from his closet, pale blue, slightly wrinkled, but acceptable, and ran out the door with his bag hanging off one shoulder and his laptop charger still plugged into the wall. He would realize that later. The Solaris Tower was one of those buildings that made people feel small on purpose. 70 floors of glass and steel in the center of the city, home to the biggest corporations and the most frightening people in business. Hale worked on the 34th floor at a mid-sized marketing firm called Brightwave. He was a junior creative director, which was a fancy title for someone who worked 12 hours a day and got credit for maybe 4 of them. He liked his job. He was good at it. He did not like the building. Specifically, he did not like who else worked in the building. Ryu Songwar, CEO of Ryu Global 38th floor, the man who had looked at Hale 2 years ago like he was a mistake that needed to be corrected, and then calmly, quietly, and with the cruelest kind of politeness, ended things between them before they had even properly begun. Hale pressed the elevator button and waited. He stared at his reflection in the polished silver doors. He looked tired. He had been looking tired for 2 years, if he was being honest, which he usually tried not to be. The doors opened. He stepped in. He pressed 34. The doors started to close. A hand shot between them. The doors opened again. And there he was. Ryu Songwar stepped into the elevator in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Hale's monthly rent. His dark hair was neat, his jaw was sharp, and his eyes were already on his phone before the doors even fully closed. He pressed 38 without looking up. He did not look at Hale. Hale stared straight ahead and said nothing. The elevator moved, past the 10th floor, the 15th, the 20th. Then it stopped. Not the smooth, normal stop of reaching a floor. It lurched. The lights flickered once, twice, and then went dim, replaced by the soft emergency glow of backup lighting that turned everything a pale, yellowish color. Silence. Then a low, mechanical groan from somewhere above them. Hale looked up at the ceiling. His heart was already moving faster than it should. Songwoo finally looked up from his phone. They stared at each other for the first time in 2 years. "No," Hale said out loud. He did not mean to say it. It just came out. Songwoo looked back at his phone. He pressed a button, probably calling someone. Then he looked at the elevator panel and pressed the emergency call button. A recorded voice answered, "We are aware of the situation. Technicians are being dispatched. Please remain calm. Estimated wait time is currently unknown." "Unknown," Hale repeated. "It means they don't know," Songwar said, his voice flat and professional, like he was explaining a quarterly report. "I know what unknown means," Hale said. Songwoo looked at him properly then. Really looked. And Hale felt it. That old stupid pull in his chest that he had spent 24 months trying to destroy. He moved to the far corner of the elevator and sat down on the floor, back against the wall. Songwoo stayed standing. "You're going to stand the whole time?" Hale asked. "Yes." "Okay." 2 minutes of silence. Then Songwoo's knees bent slowly and he sat down against the opposite wall. Legs folded, jacket smoothed, like even sitting on an elevator floor could be done with dignity. Hale almost smiled. Almost. "Don't," Songwar said. "Don't what?" "Whatever face you're making." "I'm not making a face." "You were about to." Hale pressed his lips together and looked at the closed doors. The emergency light buzzed faintly. Somewhere far away, the building hummed like it was thinking. 6 floors apart from where either of them needed to be. No phone signal for Hale, he checked. His charger was still at home. His battery was at 31%. He turned it face down on his knee to save power. Songwoo's phone lit up 1 bar. He was typing something, probably rescheduling a meeting, probably running the world from the floor of a broken elevator like the terrifying person he was. Hale closed his eyes. Why today, he thought. Of all the days in all the years. Outside, the city went on without them. Meetings happened. Coffee was made. The world turned. Inside, the silence stretched like something that had been waiting a long time to be heard. Songwoo put his phone away at the 40-minute mark. Hale noticed. He noticed everything, which was his biggest problem and always had been. He noticed the exact moment Songwoo stopped typing, The way his shoulders dropped by about 2 centimeters. Barely anything really, and the way he pressed the back of his head against the elevator wall and looked at the ceiling like he was having a very private argument with himself. Hale said nothing. He was proud of himself for that. The emergency line had updated them once. Technicians were on site. The issue was a power fault in the elevator shaft, and they were working to restore movement. No time estimate. The voice was very calm about this. Hale wanted to shake the speaker. He pulled his knees up and rested his arms on them. The floor was cold through his trousers. The light was still that horrible yellow-gray. He had turned his phone off completely to save the battery. There was no signal anyway, and he could not stand watching the percentage fall. "You work at Bright Wave," Songwoo said. It was not a question. Hale turned his head slowly. "I've seen you in the lobby," Songwoo continued, still looking at the ceiling. "A few times." "I know," Hale said. "I've seen you too. You never said anything. Neither did you." Songwoo brought his gaze down from the ceiling and looked at Hale directly. His eyes were dark and careful, the kind that gave very little away. Hale had once thought those eyes were the most honest thing about him. He had learned later that they were actually the most controlled. "How long have you been at Bright Wave?" Songwoo asked. 18 months. A pause. A calculation behind those careful eyes. "So you moved there after?" "Yes," Hale said, cutting it off cleanly. "After." Songwoo nodded once and looked away. Hale exhaled slowly through his nose. He had not planned to have this conversation today or ever, but here they were on the floor of a broken elevator somewhere between the 20th and 21st floor, and the universe had apparently decided that avoidance was no longer an option. "You look tired," Songwoo said. The words were so unexpected that Hale blinked. "Excuse me?" "You look tired," he repeated. Not unkind, just observational, like he was noting the weather. "I'm fine." "I didn't ask if you were fine. I said you look tired." Hale stared at him. "You don't get to say things like that to me." "I know," Songwoo said simply. That disarmed Hale completely. He had been ready for a fight or for nothing at all, not for that quiet "I know" that carried no defense in it, just acknowledgement. He did not know what to do with acknowledgement from Ryu Songwoo. He had never received it before. He looked at the doors again. "I burned my toast this morning," Hale said. He did not know why he said it. "Was it bad?" "It was a disaster. I had to leave without eating." Songwoo reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and took out a small rectangular thing wrapped in silver foil. He looked at it. Then he held it out across the elevator floor toward Hale. Hale looked at it. "Is that a granola bar?" "My assistant packs my jacket every morning," Songwoo said, which was not exactly an answer. Hale took it. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I'm going to thank you. You don't get to control that." Something moved at the corner of Songwoo's mouth. It was very small and very fast. If Hale had blinked, he would have missed it. He ate the granola bar. It was very good, honey and oat, expensive tasting. Of course. Of course, Ryu Songwoo would have excellent emergency granola bars. "Do you have two?" Hale asked. "No." "What are you going to eat?" "I'll survive." That's very dramatic for a granola bar situation. "I'm not being dramatic." "You kind of are." The almost smile happened again. Hale watched it. He cataloged it. He hated himself a little bit for cataloging it. The emergency line buzzed. "Update. Restoration is ongoing. Please remain patient." "Patient," Hale muttered. "Sure." He folded the silver wrapper into a small square and put it in his pocket. Old habit, he did not like to litter. Songwoo was watching him do it. "What?" Hale asked. "Nothing. You're staring." "I'm sitting in a box with nothing to look at." "Look at the ceiling." "You liked the ceiling earlier." "The ceiling is not interesting." "And I am." The question fell out before Hale could stop it. It landed between them and sat there, too honest, too loaded. Hale felt the back of his neck go warm. Songwoo did not look away. "You always were," he said. The elevator hummed. Hale's heart did something he was not ready to describe. He looked at his folded foil wrapper. He looked at the door. He looked everywhere except across the elevator at the man who had just said the most confusing thing he had heard in 2 years. Outside, the world kept moving. Inside, something very old and very careful began to crack, just barely at one corner. Neither of them mentioned it. Not yet. Tell me something true, Hale said. He said it to the ceiling, not to Songwoo. It was the second hour now. He knew because he had been counting the minutes like a person who had nothing else to do, which he did not. Songwoo was quiet for a moment. About what? About anything. I'm bored and this is awful and I want someone to talk. You could talk. I want to hear you talk. Another pause. Longer this time. Hale turned his head and found Songwoo looking at his own hands. Large hands, folded over each other on his knees. I haven't slept well in about 8 months, Songwoo said. Hale turned that over. Why? My company went through a restructure. I lost 3 senior managers in 1 quarter. I had to personally oversee 42 departments for 6 weeks. He said all of this in the same tone that someone might use to describe grocery shopping. Flat, contained. That sounds horrible, Hale said. It was manageable. It sounds horrible, Hale said again, firmer. Songwoo looked at him. Fine. It was horrible. See? That was a true thing. Your turn, Songwoo said. Hale had not expected that. He opened his mouth, closed it, then said, I got a promotion 6 months ago that I cried about in a bathroom for 20 minutes. Because you were happy? Because I didn't know if I was happy or if I was just relieved that something good finally happened and I couldn't tell the difference anymore. He said it fast, the way you pull off a bandage. I called my mom. She said congratulations. I said thank you. I didn't tell her about the bathroom part. Songwoo looked at him for a long, quiet moment. Congratulations, he said. That was 6 months ago. Still counts. Something warm moved through Hale's chest. He did not want it there. He especially did not want it to feel right there, which it did. Why did you do it? Hale asked. He had not planned to ask it here. He had planned, in the abstract, to maybe ask it someday in a scenario that gave him more control. A coffee shop, maybe, or a long phone call where he could hang up. Not a broken elevator with nowhere to go. But the question had been living in his chest for 2 years, and apparently it was tired of waiting. Songwoo did not pretend not to know what he meant. I had reasons. I'm sure you did. They seemed logical at the time. And now, Songwoo looked back at his hands. Now they seem like things I told myself because I was scared and I didn't know how to say that. Hale stared at him. You were scared? Yes. Of what? Songwoo turned his head. Their eyes met. The yellow light made everything look softer than it was, and Hale was aware, suddenly, of how small this space was. 2 meters of air between them at most, and nothing else. Of you, Songwoo said. Of what it would mean if I kept going. Hale felt his breath leave him. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I know. You rejected me because you liked me? I pushed you away because I liked you more than I knew how to handle. Yes. His voice did not waver. He said it like a confession, but also like a fact. Like he had been sitting with it long enough that it had simply become the truth, no drama needed. Hale pressed both hands over his face. Oh my God. I understand if you're angry. I'm not angry. I don't know what I am. He took his hands down. Actually, yes, I am angry. A little. Because you could have just said that. 2 years ago, you could have just said that. I know. You keep saying I know. Because I do know. I've known for a while. Knowing and doing something about it are different things. Hale shook his head slowly. The emergency light buzzed. Somewhere above them, something mechanical groaned and settled. He wanted to stay angry. Anger was clean. Anger had clear walls and no doors. But 2 years of questions had just gotten an answer, and the answer was so human and so stupid that he almost felt sorry for both of them. 2 people who had spent 24 months missing each other because one of them had been too frightened to admit it. You are... Hale started, then stopped. I know, Songwoo said very quietly before he could finish, and somehow maddeningly, that made Hale want to laugh. He didn't, but it was close. Outside, the city had no idea. Inside, something old shifted, settled, and waited to see what would come next. The lights went out completely at hour 3. Not the dim yellow of the emergency backup. Full darkness. Total. The kind that makes your eyes search for something to hold onto and find nothing. Hale heard his own breathing. He heard Songwoo's breathing. He heard the building hum and, somewhere very far away, a sound like machinery starting and stopping. Is this normal? Hale asked. His voice was steady. He was proud of that. No, Songwoo said from across the dark. He did not sound alarmed, which was both reassuring and infuriating. Hale reached into his pocket and turned his phone on just long enough to use the flashlight. The battery was at 19%. Here, he said, setting its screen down so the light bounced off the floor. It made a small, pale circle of visibility. Not much. Enough. Songwoo was on his feet. Hale looked up and found him standing at the emergency panel, pressing the call button again with controlled, deliberate force. The line picked up. Not the recorded message this time. A real voice, apologetic and slightly panicked. The secondary power cell for this elevator shaft had failed. They were switching to a backup system. It would take 40 minutes to restore. 40 minutes, Hale echoed. Roughly, the voice said. So we've been here 3 hours and you're telling me. Hale. Songwoo's voice was calm. He was looking at him across the small light, standing very still. Hale closed his mouth. Not because Songwoo told him to, because something in the way he said the name, just Hale, no title, no formality, made everything go quiet inside his head. Songwoo crouched down and sat again. He moved closer this time. Not across the elevator, just slightly closer, maybe half a meter from Hale's corner instead of the opposite wall. Hale noticed. He catalogued it. He did not comment on it. Are you afraid of the dark? Songwoo asked. No. Are you? No. I just wanted to know. Why? Because if you were, I was going to stay here. Hale blinked at him. In the pale glow, Songwoo's face was all shadow and quiet lines. You already moved closer. Yes. Before you asked. Yes. Hale looked at the little light on the floor. His phone battery was dying and he was sitting in a broken elevator in the dark next to, not quite next to, but nearer than before, the person who had confused him and hurt him and apparently also been afraid of him for 2 years. You really should have just told me, Hale said quietly. Not with heat this time, just tiredly. The way you say things when you've finally accepted that they're true. I know that. It would have saved. He gestured at the air. The 2 years. The distance. The way he had learned to walk through the lobby of this building without looking up. I know, Songwoo said. I'm sorry. It was the first time he had said those words. They were small and plain and they landed in Hale's chest like they had weight. Okay, Hale said. Okay. I heard you. Okay. Songwoo exhaled. Very slowly. Like he had been holding something for a long time. I didn't think it would be that easy. It's not easy, Hale said. I'm just tired of carrying it. I've been angry for 2 years and I don't want to keep doing that. He looked at Songwoo directly. It doesn't mean everything is fine. I understand. I have a lot more things to say to you. I'll listen to all of them. Not tonight. Whenever you're ready. Hale turned his face away and pressed the back of his head against the wall. His phone battery hit 15%. He turned the flashlight off. They sat in the dark again. But it was a different dark now. Less lonely. More complicated, maybe, but less lonely. Tell me something else that's true, Songwoo said. His voice was quieter now, more careful, like he was handling something fragile. Hale thought about it. I kept the note you sent with the flowers. A beat. You remember that? You sent me one sunflower when I had food poisoning at the company conference. There was a note. It said, and I quote, "Get well soon. You still have to present Thursday." And somehow I thought that was the kindest thing anyone had ever done. A long pause. Hale felt rather than saw Songwoo turn toward him. I didn't want to say something you'd keep, Songwoo admitted. I was already too close. And then you left. And then I left. And I kept it anyway, Hale said. He heard Songwoo exhale. Soft. Private. Like something that had been held in chest for a very long time was being let out just a little. The lights came back on. All at once, bright, normal elevator light that made them both squint. They looked at each other. Rumpled. Floor-tired. Sitting closer than they had been 3 hours ago. Hale looked away first. He turned his phone on. 14%. 40 minutes, he said. At least, Songwoo agreed. The elevator had not moved. But something else had. Hale found out by accident. It was the 4th hour. They had moved into a state of cautious almost comfort. Still on the floor, still a careful distance apart, but talking. Small things. Real things. The conversation had wandered from work to families to the kind of quiet secrets that only come out when there is nowhere to go. Then Songwoo's phone rang. One bar of signal somehow, finally. He answered immediately. Chai Won. Hale watched him listen. Something shifted in Songwoo's face. Just briefly. But Hale was looking. I'll handle it when I'm out, Songwoo said. Then lower. I know what the contract says. I'll handle it. He hung up. Silence. Everything okay? Hale asked. Business issue. Sounded serious. It's managed. Hale studied him. The composure was back, that careful, professional wall. But there was something underneath it now that Hale could see, because he had spent 4 hours watching this man be something other than composed. You know, Hale said, you don't have to do that with me. Do what? Put the wall back up. He said it simply, without accusation. I've been looking at your face for 4 hours. I can see when you're doing it. Songwoo looked at him. Something surprised moved through his expression. You always did that, he said. Did what? Saw past what I was showing. Is that why you were scared? A long pause. Then, quietly, it's difficult to maintain control around someone who doesn't believe in the version of yourself you've built. Hale blinked. That's the most honest thing you've ever said to me. I'm working on it. Is the contract about the merger? Hale asked. He had heard things at Brightwave. They handled marketing for 2 of Ryu Global's partner companies. Industry gossip moved fast in Solaris Tower. Songwoo looked at him. You know about that? I know it's been going wrong for 6 months. I know there's a competing bid. He tilted his head. I also know that the company making the competing bid used to be your father's. Something went very still in Songwoo's face. Not angry, shocked, almost like he had not expected to be seen that clearly. That's why you haven't slept in 8 months, Hale said slowly. It's not just the restructure. Songwoo looked at the floor. For the first time since they had been trapped here, he looked tired. Actually tired, not the controlled exhaustion of someone who manages their fatigue. Just a man who had been carrying a hard thing for a long time. My father and I don't speak, he said. He started that company 3 years ago. He's been positioning it against mine since the beginning. His voice was even, but his hands were not. They had tightened slightly against each other on his knees. It's his way of communicating. Hale stopped. I'm sorry. That's awful. It's business. It's awful, Hale said again, firmly. You don't have to call it business. Songwoo looked up. Something raw flickered across his face for just a second before he contained it. People keep telling me to reach out to him, he said. Advisors, board members. Like one conversation will undo 15 years. He exhaled. It won't. No, Hale agreed. It won't. But that doesn't mean you have to win by destroying yourself. Songwoo was quiet. He watched Hale like he was not sure what to do with him. This person on the floor of a broken elevator who had just walked straight into a wound that most people never even noticed was there. You're not what I expected, Songwoo said. You thought I'd still be angry. I thought you'd make me earn every word. I am going to make you earn things, Hale said. Just not right now. Right now you look like you haven't had a real conversation in a very long time. I haven't, Songwoo admitted. See, Hale said. That's a true thing. Songwoo looked at him. That almost smile again, steadier now. Less defended. You're going to be trouble, he said. Hale raised an eyebrow. I was going to say the same thing about you. The emergency line buzzed. Update. Power restoration is progressing. Estimated movement restored in approximately 60 minutes. 60 minutes, Hale said. Yes. So we have another hour. At least. Hale nodded slowly. Good, he said. And he meant it, which surprised even him. Songwoo heard the surprise in it. He looked at Hale with those careful, dark eyes, and something in them was warmer now. Carefully so, like a window opening just a little to let in the air. Good, he echoed. And neither of them looked at the doors. I have to tell you something, Songwoo said. It was the 5th hour. The lights were back. They had migrated, without quite deciding to sitting side by side against one wall instead of across from each other. Not touching, just closer. The kind of closeness that means something without requiring a name. Hale turned his head. That sounds serious. It is. Okay. He waited. Songwoo looked at the closed elevator doors. His voice was steady, but there was an effort underneath it. Hale could hear the construction of it, the way you could hear someone holding something carefully. When I ended things, Songwoo began, I told you it was because I didn't think we were a good match, that I didn't see a future in it. He paused. That was not the truth. I know, Hale said. Let me finish. Sorry. Go ahead. The actual reason. He stopped again. Breathed. My company was in the middle of a very sensitive deal. There were people watching everything I did, who I spent time with, what it looked like. He turned to look at Hale then. Someone found out about you. Someone who worked for my father. And I was told very clearly that if I continued to be seen with you, certain information would be released that would damage the deal. Hale went still. So I ended it, Songwoo continued. Quickly. Cleanly. I made it look like my choice, like indifference, because I thought if you believed I didn't care, it would hurt less than knowing you were being used as a weapon against me. The elevator hummed. Hale said nothing. I was wrong about that, Songwoo said. I know I was wrong. You would have wanted the truth. I chose to protect the deal instead of protecting you, and I told myself it was protection, but it was also cowardice. He held eye contact. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you that for 2 years. Hale's hands were very still in his lap. He was not sure what was moving inside his chest. It was too much to untangle. Hurt, yes, still. But also something like the relief of a locked door finally opening. You could have told me, Hale said. Even after. You could have called. Yes. But you didn't. No. Because by the time the deal was done, I had convinced myself that walking back into your life would be selfish. That you had moved on and I had no right. You don't get to decide that for me, Hale said. His voice was quiet, not loud, but firm in a way that made Songwoo go very still. I know. That's my decision. Whether I want to talk to you or not. Whether I want to hear an explanation or not. You took that away from me when you walked out without the truth, and you took it away again every time you didn't call. Yes, Songwoo said. You're right. I did. Hale looked at the wall in front of him. He breathed. Once. Twice. Why are you telling me now? He asked. Because we're here. And I'm tired of carrying it too. He paused. And because I don't think I'll get another chance like this one. Another chance for what? Songwoo looked at him. Quiet. Careful. Warm in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. To be honest with you. To ask if there is any version of a future where you would consider. He stopped himself. No. That's not fair. I don't get to ask for that today. You already started asking. I shouldn't have. Songwoo. It was the first time Hale had used his name today. It landed between them and made the air feel different. Finish the sentence. A pause. Long considered. I want to try again, Songwoo said. Properly this time. Honestly. If you are willing. And I understand completely if you aren't. He looked at his hands. I just needed you to know the truth first before anything else. Hale sat with it. 1 minute. 2. The emergency light stopped buzzing. The regular light felt very clear and very honest. I'm not going to answer that today, Hale said finally. I know. I need to think. Take as long as you need. You've waited 2 years. A few more days shouldn't hurt you. Something moved across Songwoo's face. Not quite a smile, but the shape of one. The outline. No, he agreed. It won't. Hale turned his face forward. His heart was beating in a way that was too complicated to describe. But somewhere underneath all the complicated layers, something quiet and stubborn was still there. The same thing that had kept the note from a sunflower and a very impersonal get-well message for 2 entire years. He hadn't thrown it away. He hadn't been able to. Maybe that meant something. At the 5.5-hour mark, the elevator moved. Just barely. A small mechanical shudder, like a cough. Then it stopped again. But Hale felt it and he sat up straight. Was that? Yes, Songwoo said. Are we? Almost. They looked at each other. Something strange moved through the air. Not dread exactly. Not excitement. Something in between, the awareness that outside the small metal box, The world was still exactly what it had been that morning, full of rules and distances and reasons, and that in about 30 minutes they would step back into it. Here, between floors, they had been something different. I looked you up, Hale admitted. After. About 6 months after you ended things. I looked up your company profile. I don't know why. He shrugged. I wanted to see what was more important. And your company was doing very well. There was a press release about a major deal closing. He looked at him. Is that the one? Yes. Did it work out? Yes. Hale nodded slowly. He was quiet for a moment. I'm glad the company survived. I am. I know that sounds strange to say, but I mean it. I never wanted bad things to happen to what you built. Songwa looked at him like he had said something extraordinary, like he could not quite believe it. Hale, I was angry at you, Hale continued. Not at everything you were. He looked at the floor. I think that's why it took so long to get over it, because the anger didn't cover all of it. There were parts of you I wasn't angry at and didn't know what to do with them. Songwa said nothing. He just listened, the way he had been listening all evening, with his full attention, no interruptions, no redirecting. It was something Hale had not expected from him. He had expected a man who talked in strategies. He had found someone who was capable, under the right pressure, of going completely quiet and letting someone else be seen. You're a better listener than I thought, Hale said. I've been working on it. Who told you that you needed to? A small pause. My therapist. Hale blinked. Oh, I started about 14 months ago. He said it easily, no embarrassment. I was told that my communication style created distance in my personal relationships. Hale huffed a surprised breath. I would have liked to be in that session. You basically were. She asked about you a lot. She asked about me? She asked about the person I pushed away. Yes. Hale stared at him. What did you tell her? The truth, Songwer said. That I cared about you more than I was ready for, and I handled it badly, and I spent a long time pretending I didn't think about it. He met Hale's gaze steadily. She said I should reach out. I kept finding reasons not to. And then fate locked us in a box, Hale said. And then fate locked us in a box, Songwer agreed. The elevator shuddered again. Stronger this time. Then, slowly, with a grinding, stuttering kind of dignity, it began to move, upward. Hale and Songwa both stood. They looked at each other. We're moving, Hale said. Yes. It's going to open in a minute. Yes. Hale straightened his wrinkled shirt. He ran a hand through his hair, which was definitely a disaster by now. Songwa smoothed his jacket lapels. A gesture so automatic it was almost funny. You don't have to have an answer today, Songwer said. I meant that. I know you did. But I want you to know. He paused. The elevator was slowing. They were close to a floor now. What you said earlier, about carrying things, about being tired of carrying them. He looked at Hale carefully. I'm tired of it too. I just wanted you to know that. Hale looked at him. The man who had once looked at him like a mistake. Who had been terrified. Who had gone to therapy for 14 months and apparently talked about him and learned to be a better listener and still hadn't reached out because he hadn't found the courage yet. Ryu Songwer, terrifying CEO. The worst coward in love that Hale had ever met. You know, Hale said. For a man who runs a 70-person executive board, you are absolutely terrible at this. Songwoo almost smiled. Actually smiled. This time. A real one, small and unguarded and completely unexpected. Changed his whole face. I know. You have to stop saying that. It's true. Say something else that's true. The elevator reached a floor. The floor numbers above the door showed 34. Hale's floor. The doors opened. Bright, regular building lighting. The hallway. Reality. Hale picked up his bag. He stepped forward. Then he stopped, half in and half out of the elevator, and turned around. Songwoo was standing very still in the middle of the elevator, looking at him. My number is the same, Hale said. It's been the same the whole time. Then he stepped out. The doors closed. He stood in the hallway of the 34th floor, bag on his shoulder, heartbeat complicated, and breathed. 3 days. Hale counted them. He was not proud of counting them, but he counted them. On the first day, he went back to work and pretended that nothing had happened. His colleague Bora asked why he looked like he had seen a ghost. He said he had been stuck in an elevator. She said that explained everything. It did not. On the second day, he found the note in his desk drawer. The one from the sunflower 2 years ago. Get well soon. You still have to present Thursday. He held it for a long time. He put it back. On the third day, his phone lit up with an unknown number at 7:14 in the morning. He answered. It's me, Songwer said. I know, Hale said. I recognized the number. You saved my number? It's the same number it's always been. A short silence. Fair enough. You waited 3 days, Hale said. You said you needed time to think. I said a few days. 3 is a few. Barely. Hale sat on the edge of his bed. He was still in his pajamas. The morning light was coming through his window in a thin golden strip. Did you sleep last night? A little. That's better than 8 months of not much. Yes. A pause. How are you? Thinking, Hale said. Like I said I would. And he looked at the morning light on his floor. He thought about 6 hours in a small metal box. About a granola bar and a man who sat on the floor like he was doing it a favor. About 14 months of therapy and someone who learned to listen, quietly and completely, when it mattered. About a note he had kept for 2 years. I want to do this carefully, Hale said. Not fast. Not like before, where everything moved too quickly and nobody was honest. Yes, Songwer agreed. Carefully. I want to actually know you. The you that talks to a therapist and doesn't sleep and got scared when someone tried to love him. A beat. Then, quietly, that's a patient kind of wanting. I'm a patient kind of person, Hale said. When something is worth it. Silence. Warm, careful silence. Hale. Yes. Can I take you for coffee? Songwoo asked. Just coffee. No elevators. Hale laughed. He had not meant to. It came out fast and surprised, the kind that sounds like relief. No elevators. Yes. Okay. Saturday. Saturday. I'll text you the place. Songwoo. Yes. Say something true, Hale said. A pause. Then, with the same steadiness that had lived under everything he said in that elevator, quiet and sure and carefully honest. I have missed you for 2 years. I am very glad we got stuck. Hale looked at the thin gold line of sunlight on his floor. Me too, he said. They stayed on the phone for another hour. Not talking about anything serious. Just talking. Songwoo telling him about his terrible morning routine. Hale describing his ongoing war with his toaster. Small, ordinary things that felt, after everything, like the most extraordinary things in the world. Because this is what love sometimes looks like. Not grand and sudden, but slow and honest, found in the smallest spaces. A broken elevator, a granola bar, a note kept for 2 years in a desk drawer, a phone call on a Tuesday morning with the curtains still closed. It looks like two people who chose, finally, to stop being afraid of each other. It looks like beginning. 6 hours in an elevator. 2 years of distance. One very stubborn feeling that refused to leave. Some things are worth waiting for. Some people are worth the patience. And some stories start with a broken elevator and end, quietly, with the most important word in the world. Again.